How do I break into the tech industry? This is such a commonly searched query on Google, on YouTube, and on other search engines. The thing is, the tech industry moves really fast, so there's lots of things to learn constantly. So you may have questions like, what skills do I need? Do I need a degree? Do I need experience? What does it really take? Today I'm going to share some tips that I learned working in the tech industry for the past 7 years, as well as speaking to tons of friends and colleagues in the industry. I'm going to share with you the quickest and easiest way to land your dream job in tech, and whether you're planning to go into tech or you're just starting out, this will help you navigate your path and figure out what skills you actually need to land your first big opportunity. So stick around if you want to learn how to figure out what skills you need, how to quickly learn those skills, whether or not a degree still matters, and what recruiters really look for. I'm also going to be speaking with my friend Vanora, who is a big tech recruiter, and she's going to give you some insider insights on how to get a job in tech. So how you should start when you're thinking about working in tech is figuring out what your dream position is. You may already have a direction in mind, something like a software developer, a marketing manager, a UI UX designer, a data analyst, project manager, or working in IT and cybersecurity. When you're looking at these tech roles and thinking about what your next career move is, there are two questions that you should consider that really correlates with what the salary range will look like. The two questions are, does this role help the company make money, or does this role help the company save money? The roles that fulfill those two specific questions are the roles that the companies are going to want to pay the most for, because whether you help the company make money or help them save money, it directly affects their bottom line, meaning the value of the roles are higher within a tech company. If you have no idea what role you're looking for, I would recommend going onto YouTube and just searching day in the life of a data analyst, or day in the life of a software developer, or day in the life of a marketing manager in my case. Watching these day in the life videos of somebody who's actually working in those roles explain to you what their day looks like will give you a really accurate understanding of what it actually takes to work in that job. The traditional method, which I still really recommend, is just going on LinkedIn and looking for people who are working in tech in your city in the roles that you hope to work in, and just inviting them out for coffee. You can be like, hey, I'm planning my next career move and I'm really interested in the role that you're currently in. Can I take you out for coffee or lunch sometime to better understand what it is exactly that you do? Once you figure out what role you want to be in, next is to think about what skills you need to actually get that role. My favorite way to do this is actually to go and look for job postings of that role, either at companies you've never heard of or at your dream companies, and then just reverse engineer the job posting to figure out exactly what they're looking for. At this point, I would start a Google Sheets doc or some sort of a document where you can write down, this is the role, here are links to 10 to 20 job postings, and start taking notes on all the job postings to figure out what their requirements are. Often, job postings will have an entire section dedicated to requirements, but don't just read that section, because the other sections, the job summary, the company culture, all of those things will give you more detail about exactly what they're looking for. Don't fret if there's terminology that you don't understand from the job posting. Dr. Google or ChatGPT or Perplexity AI is going to be your best friend, and I would start Googling some of those words and terminology so that you can actually have a better understanding of the tools they use, the skills they need, and some of those daily processes. Some tools will actually include their own training programs. So for example, if a company is looking for someone to specialize in marketing analytics and they use Google Analytics, Google Analytics actually has tons of free courses for you to take and a certification to really teach you the ins and outs of how to use that tool. So what I recommend is, once you have notes from those 10 to 20 job postings, start to bucket them together and highlighting those key tools that they use, and then doing the research to find, okay, how much time will it actually take me to at least get a basic understanding of this tool? Even if you don't have 3, 5, or 10 years working with that tool, it's really encouraging for the hiring manager when they see that you've put in the effort to understand the tools and processes that they have internally and show that you're really willing to learn. Okay, by now we have our doc, we've analyzed all of these job postings, and we've bucketed bucketed those skills into groups. You now have a rough idea of what skills company are looking for your dream role. So how do you actually learn those skills? I think this is a great area to touch on whether or not degrees really matter in today's job market. One thing that I have personally experienced is that degrees no longer have as much weight as they used to when it comes to the tech industry. I think a degree is a nice to have because it will really show your hiring manager that you were able to commit to something and see it all the way through. I won't deny that traditional education does have its benefit, but I definitely don't think that it's the only way that you can learn the right skills to work in a tech job. Personally, when I was hiring for my team, what mattered more to me were the projects that you have worked on, the experience you have, and whether or not you're a culture fit. Course Careers is an amazing online learning platform that's going to teach you all of those high earning skills that you need for working in tech and to land roles like software development, digital advertising, IT, and tons more. They even show you the average starting salary of all of those roles, which I think is super important when you're considering what your next career move is. Their courses are designed to teach you everything you need to know about landing that job and even outperforming those people who have a degree. What makes them really special is that they actually have industry experts and people who are working in the industry to come on and provide unlimited coaching so that you can get all the advice you need about landing those roles. AKA, it takes out that additional stress of having to go out there and network on your own. In my opinion, the best part about it is that they actually have employers in their platform looking to hire for specific roles. So top students of Course Careers can sometimes even land a job without ever having to apply. That is another way that they're really taking the stressors off the students so that you can focus on learning the skills. I think it makes them really unique and such a huge benefit to students. They have tons of different course paths, so whether you want to go into tech sales, UI UX designing, digital advertising, data analytics, software development, there are so many more, so it really covers the wide variety of tech jobs that you can have. All of their courses also have a free introductory course, so that really allows you to understand what it's going to take for you to move through those courses. Their courses are also condensed and affordable. So in my opinion, it's one of the best ways for you to gain those skills so that you can feel confident when you actually land that role. So if you want to speed up your learning and gain those exact skills that you need to work in tech, I'll put their link as the first link in my description so that you can find it. So we've covered finding the role, finding what skills you need, and how you're going to gain those skills. Let's chat about what recruiters actually look like when they're hiring in tech. I kind of already mentioned what I look for as a hiring manager. So whether you're a culture fit, do you fit in the team? Are you willing to learn what skills you have and what projects you've previously worked on? Something else I really look for is whether you actually have an understanding of what we're looking for. So here's where that analyzing the job posting really comes into play, because if you're able to, in the interview, tell me, hey, I know you're looking for these things and these things, and this is how my skills will help you, that makes my thinking so much easier when I'm trying to pick the right candidate. As I mentioned before, it's important that you fit within our company culture, so understanding our vision and matching our values as well. So as you're doing your research about the roles, also look into the company vision and the company values, which are sometimes placed right on their website. And if you're able to bring that also to the interview and explain why you believe in the vision and how you fit in our values, automatic A+ for me. If you're a student and you don't previously have work experience, I want to see your personal projects, your side projects, your schoolwork, volunteer work, and I want to hear how you're planning to apply what you've already learned into solving some of the problems that we have. But that's just coming from me as a hiring manager. So I decided to hop on a call with my friend Vanora, who is a big tech recruiter, meaning she recruits for some of those big tech giants that we all know and have heard of. She was super kind to answer some of the most commonly asked questions about people who are looking for jobs in tech. So here are all the best insights from that conversation. Let's start with your introduction. So can you tell us about yourself and what you do currently?
Yeah, so my name is Vanora, and I am currently a big tech recruiter at Salesforce, specifically in Vancouver.
So I want to start off with what should somebody include when they're reaching out to a recruiter or when they're just applying for a job? There's like the typical like resume, CV, but what's something that really helps that stand out to you?
I think there are a couple key pointers. Applying to a job is great, but you also got to consider how many other people are applying to the job. And I'm
Totally.
sure people in the market completely understand right now where you click on a job and you see on LinkedIn, there's already 100+ applicants within a job. And it's
Yeah.
only been like 3 days, right? So I think it's really being able to stand out and what makes me want to pick you over the 100 applications that I'm getting. So doing a
Mm-hmm.
personal introduction through LinkedIn, you don't really, get the shot if you don't shoot it, right? So really
Yeah.
just put your best foot forward and really put in the effort to send an introduction being like, "Hey, I'm Vanora. I recently applied to this role. I'm really excited about this position because XYZ of your
Mm-hmm.
experience." Just keep it short and sweet.
What makes a good candidate really stand out to you? So we've touched on the one-on-one. There's obviously the aspects of like making sure your resume and your cover letter is really tailored to that position, that you know exactly what they're looking for. But is there anything else that really makes a candidate stand out, either when they're applying or when you're interviewing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There's a lot that can make you stand out. So here
Mm-hmm.
are some tips and tricks. I think it's really going above and beyond than
Mm-hmm.
your basic effort of applying to a job. Going the extra mile to do the research. I know this is such a basic thing, and this goes across like going through interviews as well. This is a very simple advice, but you'd be so surprised with how many people actually don't do it, and
Yeah.
they go into an interview completely blinded, or they don't know the company fully. They
Mm.
know like maybe one sentence about the company, being like, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
like the top CRM system." Yes, that's totally fine. But at the same time, it's like, how are you going to make yourself stand out outside of the people who are saying the exact same thing?
Mm-hmm.
I recruit in sales, and trust me, I go through interviews every single day and I talk to like 20 people a week.
Yeah.
So the question is, how are you going to stand out, right? And how you're going to stand out is by doing the extra research, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not just doing spitting out facts. It's being able to connect your personal experiences and being able to link that to maybe some of the values a certain company has. Is it because a company values like giving back to the community, for example, and
Mm-hmm.
you yourself is a person who loves volunteering and already does that on the side, and you connect from that point of view, right? I think it's really picking and choosing the facts that you find on a company website and being able to link that to your personal experiences, I think will
Mm-hmm.
make you stand out in the question. And I will say that as a recruiter, I do ask this. It is a very general and very easy question. The question is why. A lot of companies will ask this, right?
Totally.
Why this
Yeah.
company, and why do you want to join our workforce, right? So I think those simple questions will really help you stand out right from the get-go, because those are
Mm-hmm.
questions right off the bat that we're going to ask.
Yeah, the why piece is so important. And like when I was kind of like a new grad, I've definitely been stumped on that before. Especially when you're like just coming out of school, it's so easy to feel like, oh, like, well, what does make me stand out, right? It always goes back to that connection piece, right? It's like, are you a right fit for the culture and like for the values and for the vision? Because sometimes I personally think that almost comes before certain like skills, because I feel like skills can be learned, but it's important that you almost like share the same values as that company and that you're actually going to be like a critical part of that team. Okay, the next one's like the age-old question of how much does a degree really matter? Because there are so many boot camps now, online courses, which are very kind of like technical and specific to a role. I personally came out of BCIT, so I don't have that
Mhm.
degree. So from personal experience, I mean, I obviously applied for a startup where some of the requirements might be a bit different. But when you're looking at both startups and then also big tech, how really important is that degree aspect?
I will be as transparent as possible. As a recruiter, I actually don't even look at that sometimes.
Yeah.
But it does very much depend on the role that you apply. If you're applying to like a very technical role,
Mm.
I definitely would say that is something I will look at, but it doesn't hold like too much against like everything else. For me, it does hold credibility that you've been, let's just say, an MBA or like you've had an undergrad, those things do matter. So I think it's like one piece of the cake that I look at, right?
Yeah.
And I would say in terms of like the boot camp stuff, I do actually quite like those pieces because I understand boot camps require you to be a little bit more hands-on. And I would say nowadays it's a little bit more skill over degree type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Having that practical experience is definitely more valued than like formal degrees. With the more technical roles, what I started noticing as well is more people are taking the boot camps.
Yeah.
And even if you don't have a degree, I will still look at someone who's done let's just say a Microsoft certificate or a Salesforce Platform One certificate. Those do actually matter a lot because I've been through it myself where those certificates, they do require you to do like examination and they do a lot of
Yeah.
practical work and quizzes and tests. So it does actually test your practical skill set, which I do love a lot. So those things do matter, but I would definitely say it's not a deal breaker.
So, would you say, as a part of the package, having some sort of a portfolio or like having examples of projects you've worked on, even if they're not for work experience, but that are related to the job that you're applying for, would really help?
So that going back to our previous question around how you can
Yeah.
stand out is going the extra mile, right? So instead of maybe sending just your resume, if you have a portfolio, send that because it might not be me looking at it, but if I have in hand and you move on to the next stage with the hiring managers, I can be like, this person already sent their portfolio in, and I would love for you to review it. So that way it kind of like, you're giving the hiring managers something before they even ask, which
Totally.
is like
Yeah.
a really good plus one. And that stuff also shows your ambition for continuous learning and upskilling.
Kind of going towards the more, I don't want to say negative, but like, what are some things that kind of stand out as like a sore thumb or a red flag or is like a bad standout for a candidate?
Yeah, one of which I did mention before is not doing your research and not doing your prep. Generic applications,
Yeah.
that one is tough because I've been as an applicant before, and it is tough because like it's time spent, right? Altering your resume and things like that, trying to cater it towards the job that you want to apply to. But if it is a company and a job that you really, really want, I would go the extra mile and just like really cater your application towards that specific company. Because nowadays, what I've also noticed is a lot of companies have those prereq questions that they'll ask you even before you even hop on a call with the recruiter. When you send in your applications, there's actually like prereq questions like, why do you want to be part of this company? How long have you been in the industry? Certain like just simple questions like that. So really just like cater your question to be very personalized. Another thing is poor communication. This goes towards written and like verbal as well. Grammatical errors, simple things like that. Spelling
Yeah.
errors on a resume really is like turns me off right away. Like when I
Yeah.
read a resume, I do take the time, but of course I have like 100+ applicants. So for me, it's like kind of like scrolling on social media. How long does it take for someone to just like flip the screen, right? It takes 3 seconds. That's
Yeah.
that's actually as quick as I look at a resume and what it looks like. Formatting, all of that stuff does matter because like how are you going to catch my attention? If it's messy, if it's not in a PDF or not in the right formatting and it's all becomes like
Yeah.
jumbled, immediately that's like a no for me because I can't
Yeah.
read it. and I don't have the capacity to really,
Yeah.
decipher certain things.
Yeah.
So making sure that your format, the communication, verbal as well as written, is very clear, and that you've not just edited, but get someone else to read your resume, get someone
Totally.
else to like reread your answers. It helps a lot. Sometimes you're just staring at a screen for too long and you just can't capture your own mistakes sometimes. The negative attitude, speaking poorly of previous employers, or
Yeah.
having like a very negative connotation when you're going through a interview process is a big no-no. And for me as a recruiter, I definitely have done this enough to understand that the moment I hop on the phone, the energy that comes through the phone and
Yeah.
how excited you are, the tone of voice that you have. A phone call is actually harder than a video call because you can't show
Totally.
emotion through your face or expressions, right? It's all about
Yeah.
your tone of voice. If you're like very monotone, not excited, like I can sense that over the phone. And if you don't give me that time of day, like I can feel that as well. And if you don't have a LinkedIn, make sure you have a LinkedIn. Half of the
Yeah.
time, I actually look at the LinkedIn first if you have a LinkedIn, because
Mm.
LinkedIn is a great snapshot of everything in one
Yeah.
piece where it's visually appealing, more visually appealing than a resume. If the first thing I look at is LinkedIn for the general like highlights, and then if I am interested in a candidate, I look at the resume to see like, the bullet points and read a little bit more about the candidate.
Could you walk us through quickly what like a typical recruitment process would look like? So for those people who are applying for the very first time, what can they expect when they're trying to apply for a job?
Yeah, so this does vary in regards to like the role that you apply. If it's more technical, there will probably be a couple more steps in regards to like the conversations. But all in all, I would say generally speaking, it's the application. And then after an application, it's typically either a phone call with the recruiter, or a virtual meet over camera as well. And then after that, if it's a larger company, you'll probably have a secondary conversation with maybe like a recruiting manager, actually.
Okay.
If it's a smaller company, it'll probably go directly to the hiring manager. The third step would most of the time be a technical screening, where you are asked to complete a technical assessment or coding challenge. It really just depends on what role you're applying for. And you do present typically to a panel of people, which are the hiring managers, maybe from different areas of the business in the same segment, but different areas of the business, so that they can assess your technical skill set, but also they tend to have different people on the panel in case if you might not be a fit for maybe one of the teams, you could be a potential fit for another team. And then the last step would be typically feedback and or like offer stage, and then onboarding. So that's the typical, I would say, recruitment process.
Totally. That's a great place to end off. Thank you for hopping on this call with me. This is going to be so helpful for people watching this video. But before we hop off, can you let us know where to find you, all your socials, if you want your LinkedIn on there? So yeah, kind of give us your deets.
Yes, please feel free to add me on LinkedIn, connect with me. I've done a lot of recruiting in different areas of businesses, although maybe some of the roles I might not recruited for. A lot of the advice still does apply to, anyone in regards to any type of position. So if you guys need extra advice or have anything you guys are ever curious about, feel free to reach me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn name is Vanora Lowe, but feel free to reach me. I'm an open door, happy to answer any of your questions and just like things that you have wondering in your head.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vanora.
Thank you. It was lovely chatting and I love doing this. So yeah, I love helping people.
If you're looking for a job in tech and you don't know where to start, give this workflow a try. Look for what position you want to be in, find out what skills they need, and learn those skills with platforms like Course Careers. And if you have no other work experience to apply, make sure you start working on projects, side projects, spec projects, and really start building up your use of those skills as well as your portfolio. Those are all of my best recommendations on the easiest way for you to land your next job in tech. If you enjoyed this video, check out my careers playlist where I show you what a typical day looks like in my job in tech. And as always, if you have any questions about anything I talked about in this video or anything that Vanora talked about, make sure to leave them in the comments down below. Other than that, I hope you're having an amazing day wherever you are in the world. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!